Hello, colleagues, and welcome to week 4 of ORM456, Business Proposal Design. We are passing the halfway point of the course, starting to move toward finishing our proposals and our presentations and our reports. So, this is Brewers Bullets for week 4, the 3 things we need to be paying attention to, past, present, and looking ahead. And this week, we get a special bonus that I'm going to give up front. The grading rubric will have something in it about an ethical perspective or a faith-based perspective. Spring Arbor is a Christian university. You may or may not be a Christian, but one of the things Spring Arbor is trying to emphasize is that even business classes, even business decisions, often should or do have an ethical component. So one thing I've noticed from students in this class and other classes at Spring Arbor is that when it talks about an ethical or faith-based perspective and wants you to include something like that in your papers, a lot of times people just automatically throw in a Bible verse. And I want to emphasize that that's not necessarily what the ethical perspective is. There are plenty of verses in the Bible that present a good ethical perspective, and we can use those in building our proposals or our essays. But I want to encourage you to think more broadly as you're doing your proposal work, your research, and then your write-ups. Be thinking about the ethical perspective, even in a pure ethical perspectives matter, right? Community engagement and involvement, how we treat employees, integrity, trust. These are all ethical issues. Bullet number 1. Something that I thought was very important, that it's important to ask first, to listen first, to gather the other person's perspective from their culture. With people from Southeast Asia or Africa or Europe or Latin America or our colleague down the hall, right? That it should be a standard practice to listen and understand the other person's perspective. How much more important is it when it's cross-cultural, when somebody's coming from a very different perspective, monochromic versus polychromic, all sorts of power distance issues, masculinity versus femininity. There are all sorts of things that could be incorporated there. One additional thing I wanted to mention that I mentioned in one of the online posts is I have found it extremely valuable as I've worked with people in many different cultures over the past decade, to find a cultural translator, not just somebody who can translate the language from English to Japanese or Thai or Cambodian or Swahili or whatever, but a cultural translator, somebody who helps me in advance, during, and after an event, a meeting, a conversation, to understand the things that I should say and not say, and do and not do, and to debrief. To process that so that my interactions over time get better and better with people from different cultures. So I strongly recommend that whenever you have the opportunity. Second bullet for this week. So this week we get started on the research and then writing the introduction for our business proposal. So almost all of you have your organization selected, the issue identified and approved. You have approval on your formal proposal request, and now you're ready to start doing interviews, online searches, surveys, different types of data gathering to figure out what do I need to put into this proposal to resolve this issue that our organization is having. Remember that you do need to include not just online sources, but also real information, information from your organization and context, so that it lends some real life to it, not just borrowing from theory or from other people's examples of what they've been through. Make sure you include both of those. As you are conducting your research this week, the expectation is you'll still be able to write the introduction. You may need to change the introduction later on after you conduct the research. Other things may come up that you need to modify. But for right now, you can write up the introduction. This is my purpose, this is the scope, these are the limitations, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm setting out to do. So you should be able to write that this week. Also, you have a short paper this week comparing a feasibility study to a business plan. These are very similar in terms of their relationship to each other to the proposal request versus the proposal. Feasibility study comes before the business plan. Should we actually launch the business? Okay, now we'll proceed with the business plan. So you get a chance to explore those differences and similarities in a short paper this week. Online, the discussion board is requesting you to submit answers to things from Locker and Kinsler. That may or may not lend itself very well to good, rich discussion, so I've posted an additional, an optional, an alternative question that we can explore in the discussion boards. So that's this week. Bullet number 3, looking ahead. Next week, you'll continue doing your research probably, and you'll be writing up the analysis. This is what I've learned, this is what I've gathered, here's the data, and here are the implications of that data. Now, you're not expected to write up your conclusions and your recommendations until week 6. Some of you may finish your research and the implications are clear and you're ready to go on and write your conclusions or recommendation. You're fine to do that, but you don't have to do that until week 6. Next week is really about processing the data, processing the interview responses, the survey data, the online sources, the books that you read, all this other stuff that's come in, processing through that and then writing that out, wrapping up the research portion and moving into the writing portion. And of course, then after that, we start looking at the technology. How do we do a PowerPoint or a Prezi or something where I'm on screen and my presentation's on screen, and it's just like I'm giving a live presentation to an audience. So that's a look ahead. Those are our 3 bullets for this week, 3 Brewers bullets. Any questions, please text me, 503-422-1736, or email me at my Spring Arbor address. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. If we need to talk, I'd be glad to do that. Thanks so much, and I'll see you online.